Left turn into lowest downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger, let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow on the final, and as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Hello. Apologies, I was a little bit slow to press the start button tonight, so we're probably running a little bit late. Thought, oh, actually, no, 19:30. I got it spot on as usual. Okay, a couple of things. First up, and very importantly, thank you very, very much to 4Flight for sponsoring the live stream. They're great sponsors, and I would like to tell you a little bit about Sentry, which is an ADS-B in device, not ADS-B out. This one's ADS-B in, 2-channel, has a carbon monoxide detector, has an AHARS, which will give you the emergency horizon in 4Flight, and you can find out more about it by going to www.flywithsentry.com/flyer. So please do that. Thank you very much. Before we move on, there's also a little piece of housekeeping, a little tech test. The software we use to put out the live stream has a little beta feature that's just arrived, which means that we can now tweak individually people's mic levels. So I know there's been some issues in the past where we haven't been quite the right level. So if we've got any big sort of anyone who's being really, really quiet or anyone who's being really, really loud, let us know. And I think we should probably designate Johnny to play with that. Otherwise, we'll all be playing with it and moving everyone's slider up and down. So Johnny, you're the volume person. So if there's anything wrong with the volume, Johnny's the person to blame. So
I'll keep an eye on the comments.
keep an eye on the comments, Johnny. Yeah. And what have we got coming up? Well, we got Simon joining us live to give us the weather. I think my amateur weather sleuthing for the weekend seems to be few. What a scorcher. We've got a whole bunch of interesting news as usual. We're joined by Matt Coles, who can tell us all about the journey from 747FO to L4FI. Fantasy Hangar, where we're looking at knots per pound, or is it pounds per knot? I can't remember.
Knots per pound.
Knots per pound. There you go. We're looking for knots per pound. And events. There are events again. And there are a few little interesting bits and pieces in QSY. So I think it's probably time to move on. And I think we're going to go with, unintentionally, the weather. I'm just scrolling down to see this. There you go. Soon time for weather.
Evening all. Well, with all those new volume controls to play with, how tempting was it for me to go, yeah, but I wouldn't do that, would I? Anyway, yeah, looks like being quite a good weekend. Make the most of it flying this weekend and also next week, because there are some hints coming along that we might see a change from next weekend onwards to more mixed conditions. Not looking horrendous for the end of June, but not these sort of decent conditions that we've been seeing during the course of this week. So this is how things look then for Friday. Just put these up because I know many of you got some days booked off over the weekend. You were telling me, those of you I've met this week, that you got Friday planned as a day of flying. Well, actually, we've got a couple of weak fronts moving just southeastwards through the UK during the course of tomorrow. Not a lot on them, a fair amount of cloud, maybe just some low cloud affecting western coast and hills. You can see it just on the cloud ceiling forecast here, those yellow and greens indicating bases of around 1,000 to 2,000 feet above ground level. So it's just western areas that may see most of those low bases. Elsewhere, the fronts really mean very little apart from bringing a fair amount of relatively high base cloud, 1 or 2 showers perhaps in the afternoon for northwest England and for parts of Scotland as well. Now into Saturday, and high pressure really building in. You can see it there towards the south of Ireland on Saturday, with pressures of sort of 1,020, 1,024 millibars at sea level. That means that really there's not much weather activity there. So I think there will be a fair amount of cloud, but winds generally going to be quite light. Just notice these cloud bases look highlighted green and yellow across parts of Northern Ireland, getting into western Scotland. A little bit there just on the coast of East Anglia as well, just indicating perhaps a little bit of low cloud drifting in off the sea. But generally for most, it's a decent day Saturday. It's dry, decent bases of around 4,000 to 5,000 feet. Will become quite thermic though during the latter part of the morning into the afternoon. It's going to be quite a warm day. So we've actually got just a note on the forecast here of slight to potentially moderate turbulence on Saturday afternoon, where the sun has been heating the ground during the course of the day. Similar sort of warning out for Sunday as well. May just get bumpy from late morning onwards, but high pressure stays with us through the course of Sunday. So a fair day on Sunday. Maybe a little bit of very early morning mist, but that's going to be clearing away. And then for many, it looks as if it is going to be dry. It's going to be bright. Bases typically around 4,000 to 5,000 feet. Just western parts of Scotland, again, just the northwest of Scotland there. Seeing a little bit of low cloud, the yellow and the red colour there showing 500 to 1,000 foot bases in that far northwest corner of Scotland. But for most of us, it looks like being another fair day as we go into Sunday. As I say, some changes coming through during the course of next week. Now, if you want to be able to plan your flying up to 5 days in advance and spot those weather windows, and you've not been to Aviation Weather School yet, then this is your chance. On the Sunday mornings of the 18th and 25th of July between 09:30 and 12:30 hours, I'll be hosting Weather School live. It's me presenting it on both of those Sunday mornings. Get yourself along. I'll show you how to plan 5 days in advance. Build your confidence in the weather as well. And you'll finally understand it, because let's face it, the PPL doesn't really teach you how to understand weather, does it? Apart from ticking those boxes. But like I say, looks like being a great weekend for flying. Yes, a little bit bumpy in the afternoons, but I reckon make the most of it, because it looks like being a cracker. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Hey, thank you very much, Simon. That looks
that's looking quite nice.
Yeah, lovely weekend.
I think I might have a little bit.
I've got a question to address first. Now, at this time of year last year, I was broadcasting. I was just about to broadcast from the hangar, and Rudy Davids asked, "When is Ed broadcasting from the hangar?" I'm considering it, maybe next week. So if I can get the tech together, so you might see a hangar broadcast next week, Rudy.
I was thinking, you know, while it's in June and the days are long and the temperatures are balmy, we should maybe even see if we can't do an all of us in person broadcast from a hangar somewhere or something.
Yeah.
And then if it all goes wrong, high stakes, but
well, yes.
Right. It's time for the news, I believe. I just need to scroll up on my little picture here on the right, slickly, as it were. Ed, I think you're going to lead
first,
into the news.
So that's a big news. The new issue is out. So it's the summer issue. And what have we got for you this time around? So we have picked, we all sat down and we're talking about things that you can buy, just go out and buy and bring to the UK and fly. So this is certified stuff, some SSDRs, but it's all single engine pistons. And we ended up picking 28 aeroplanes that we all individually like. So the price ranges from £28,000 all the way up to over $1 million. So there's all sorts of things. So check that out and see what you think. And guys, have you probably looked at it? Have you picked your favourites from it? I know I have.
Yeah, Johnny. What was your favourite?
I've gone for the Cap 10C, which is a good all-rounder in my opinion. It look in this particular colour scheme, I think it looks really, really sporty and nice.
Good choice. Good choice. Get the optional 3-blade constant speed prop. Very nice.
I went. Oh, not Dave.
Oh, that's right. Ian, tell us.
I not in that colour, to be honest, because it's not my favourite colour, I have to say. But I went for an SR22T. Mainly because I think it actually represents the pinnacle of integration and of fast touring. And one of the things I love doing in airplanes is just getting in an airplane somewhere and appearing. That magic carpet when you get in under a grey sky in, I don't know, somewhere north of London, and you next open the door in Cannes and you hear hear the cicadas and the sort of smell of the lavender. It's just transported you there in next to no time. And I think that's fantastic. So that's
living the Cirrus life.
Living this well, yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, the Cirrus is one of those that's kind of, depending on how you kit it out, somewhere around $1 million and sometimes north of $1 million. Which, funnily enough, I don't have to spare right now. So I don't think I've ever had $1 million to spare. So there you go.
Yeah.
No.
Good choice. I went for the X Cub because I really, really fancy one of those. This is a Cub that you can do 135 knots in. How brilliant is that? So.
How much are they?
I don't have $333,000.
That's a chunky bit of money for a Cub. You could.
I know. Yeah, but what a Cub! What a Cub! Dave, what did you pick?
Well, we did scrabble over some of these because I both like the Cap 10 and the X Cub as well. But in the end, I went. But in the end, I went for the Bonanza. And just look at it. It's such a good-looking aeroplane. And you can do so much with it. And I love the fact it's got retractable gear, wobbly prop. It's got all the stuff, makes it a proper aeroplane. And it's got club seating in the back. You can pretend you're a proper pilot, flying professionally. It's just a lovely aeroplane, I think. And of course, it's over £1 million. So I've got into that kind of expensive mode this week.
I think Johnny's might be the cheapest pick.
Yeah.
Just looking at that picture, what's going on with those windows in the back? They're like.
I think I hesitate to say it, but it looks like it's got the pimp tint.
I think.
Yes.
Right now, Mile High Club Bonanza.
No, maybe not. But also in the mag, we go looking at aviation YouTubers. So there's 20 of those, some worldwide ones you may or may not know, and also some English favourites as well. Flying Adventure, taking a Bell 505 across the Atlantic, all the usual columns, £58 of landing fee savings if you're a Fly Club member, £7 at the moment. But obviously it's out there, it's free to read, click on it, send it to your friends, read it, enjoy it.
Yeah. So there you go, Dave. You lost the top spot on the news today, but you're up next.
Okay, well
with
what's
real
next?
News.
Real news. Well, the real news is, the first item is about an airworthiness directive issued by EASA for some Continental diesel engines. Now, we only found out about this yesterday. It sort of slipped under the radar a bit because the AD was actually issued back in January, and it's for some main bearing studs on these engines. And if a main bearing stud breaks, as apparently they've been reported as doing so, it can provide improper support to the crankshaft, and it can cause engine failure. So engine failure means the aircraft is going to come down. Therefore, EASA thinks it's worthy of an airworthiness directive. The slightly odd thing is that we didn't find about this by any straightforward route, only by a conversation. We have asked Continental for a bit more information on it. It does affect quite a few aircraft. There's Diamond DA40s before they invented their own engine. The Diamond DA40s, 42s. There's a Robin DR400 series with the CD155. Some Cessna 172s and also some Piper PA28s. That's quite a lot of aircraft potentially affected. Anyway, when we have a bit more from Continental, we'll report it.
Watch this space. Hopefully it's not affecting Travis in wherever he is now.
No, he's flying. Yeah, he's flying behind one of those. Yeah.
It's going to affect a few flight schools, though, isn't it? With those DA40s and 42s out of action.
Yeah. Anyway, talking of flight schools who aren't flying, I'm thinking of ones down in Cornwall. Johnny.
Yeah, so basically don't go to Cornwall this weekend. There's a no-fly area for the G7 summit. Obviously, leaders of 7 countries, including President Biden, who arrived yesterday, are all there with really tight security. There's 2 periods of flight restrictions. The first is active at the moment. That's a 2 nautical mile radius around Carbis Bay. And then the second almost covers the entire county up to flight level 100 in fact, I think that one's now live. Yeah. So we're into that. So basically from now until Sunday or Monday morning, all of Cornwall is shut. And the AIC states that unauthorized flight into the restricted area is forbidden, and deviations from that rule will result in interception. So,
yes.
So if you're looking for your interception practice, no.
Yeah, the flyer does not endorse that behaviour.
Flyer does not endorse interception practice, and flyer suggests you get your pasties from Devon, not Cornwall.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But
good.
Ed.
Me. Yes. So Travis Ludlow is flying around the world solo at the moment. Last week, when we mentioned him in the news, he'd only just left and he was already blazing an absolute trail. Well, we just can't stop him. He's absolutely on. Well, I won't say he's on fire because that's a terrible analogy. But he is just going and going and going. He's been flying some really long days, 800-900 miles. But he's cleared Alaska now, and as of this morning, he's cleared Russia, and it's as of this morning is in Alaska. So that's absolutely amazing. So fly, Travis, fly.
Right, Travis. He landed in the curiously hot what's it called? Hot Man Springs or something?
Manly Hot Spring in
Manly
Alaska.
Hot Springs. He's landed at Manly Hot Springs.
Yeah, he said, made it to Manly Hot Spring in Alaska. I have lots to share with you, but after 1,400 miles, 3 time zones in 11 hours flying, I need sleep.
And incidentally, and again, that's another story that we just stumbled across in the kind of in the Travis kind of mold, I guess, is there was plans for someone to set off and fly around the world in a microlight in August and be the youngest woman to fly around the world in a microlight, the youngest woman to fly around the world. She's 18, I think, Zara Rutherford. So we're going to have a bit more on that next week, I think. So,
just popped up.
Just popped up, indeed. Dave, you're back on.
Yes, well, the CAA, or the Airspace Safety Initiative, which is run by them, they've come up with one of their latest narratives, which is about the infringement hotspot that is RAF Halton. That is just in Buckinghamshire, at the foot of the Chiltern Hills, south east of Aylesbury, and apparently it's a bit of a hotspot. Did you know that at RAF Halton, as well as having training going on with for military and also some civilian flying, they've also got gliders operating, they've got microlights operating, and about every 2 weeks or so, they have some kind of fly past, because there's graduates coming out of the flying school and they have a graduation ceremony and they have a fly past. It could be a fast jet, it could be a military transport, it could be a big helicopter. So anyway, what it means is that they've got an ATZ and you really have to respect it. It's not one you can just blunder through blindly. It's you've got to call them up. You've got to and basically this whole narrative is about how to not infringe their airspace. It doesn't help that Halton is right next to Luton's CTA, so it's a really complicated little corner of airspace, and apparently quite a few people. I mean, I used to fly around there, and lived in Oxford, and we used to try and sneak between Halton and Aylesbury, but you can't do that. It's just there's just no space. The southeast corner of Aylesbury is actually in their ATZ. So anyway, it's good. It's a good read. It's on the. If you go to the Flyer website, you can pick up a link to it there.
Good. Good.
Yep. Well, I've also got the next item looking at this.
You have. You got the next item, Dave. What's up next?
The next item is still talking about the CAA. They're not sorry for this. Sorry. Very bad joke. The headline, which is taken from a quote in the piece that we have, is called CAA Descending into Complete Chaos on Licenses. Now, that sounds a bit outrageous, but this is what the Pilot Licensing Advisory Group, PLAG, which represents the pilot training industry, that's what they say. Apparently, they've identified the fact the CAA has unilaterally removed all time constraints on their process to issue UK licenses to pilots who have transferred state of license issue prior to Brexit. So in other words, if you've changed your state of license, particularly important to professional pilots who may not find a UK ATPL particularly useful at the moment. Someone like Ryanair or EasyJet, for instance, their pilots are all transferred over to other countries. Anyway, the whole process has kind of ground to a halt. And PLAG, the Pilot Licence Advisory Group, says it's urgent. The government must act. They must tell the CAA to accept all EASA licenses straight away. Otherwise, the whole thing is, as they say, going to descend into chaos.
I think there was a freedom of information thing they did, wasn't there? And asking how many applications there have been. And so far, the CAA have managed to deliver something like 4% of those requested have actually been fulfilled. And rather than stick to their, okay, we'll turn stuff around in 10 days, they've just decided to quietly drop that and just put no time limit on it at all. We'll turn stuff around kind of thing. So I think there's a huge, clearly licensing delays for us private pilots who fly for fun are deeply frustrating, particularly when the weather's great like this. But if you're a professional pilot, examiner, instructor, or something like that, then it's just screwing with your life. And it's really, the CA logo was a poor attempt at doing a logo in Meltdown, but it really there's some really weird stuff coming out of the CA at the moment, and I dread to think of what it's really like behind the facade. So come on, CA, tell us, and we'll do what we can to help you. But you've got to help yourselves as well.
Yeah.
Good. So, is it me next? It is.
Yeah,
it is.
So it's a little bit of a technical story, but back in I think it was March the 20th, there was the way you use the Manchester low-level route changed, and there was some stuff promulgated on the CEA website and all over the place, and all sorts of stuff in the AIP that's completely impenetrable. Anyway, so NATS Manchester came up with something which is how to use the low-level route, and it's basically all to do with in-flight visibility. So the kind of thing I wanted to point out, and I suggest you go and find one of these and have a look at it, because they've done quite a good job of simplifying it. And when the visibility is 5K or greater, then you effectively use the low-level route as you might have done before, 140 knots on it, less, listening squawk, all the rest of it. However, the thing that caught my eye that kind of left me feeling a little bit miffed, should we say, is right at the bottom of the special VFR thing. So if you want to fly special VFR in the corridor, you need to call up Manchester to get a special VFR clearance. But it does say north to south transits or vice versa are unlikely to be possible. So if you happen to be flying in visibility of less than 5 kilometers, which is not going to be that rare in the UK, and you want to use the Manchester low-level route, effectively Manchester again, well, we can't cope with that. I mean, I'm not sure what they are coping with. There can't be that much traffic at Manchester at the moment. But you've effectively then got to divert, either westward around Liverpool or eastward around Manchester. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, why does anyone know why the low-level route is not just a Class G corridor? Wouldn't that just make life a lot easier if it said, like, it's Class G up to 1,300 feet, go fill your boots. Class G rules apply.
That seems highly logical.
I know.
Why would you do that?
There's probably a really good reason that it can't be done, and I don't know what it is. Maybe someone will explain in the comments, or maybe someone will send me an email or something. But at the moment, it just seems to me that you make it Class G, and that would be Bob's your uncle, and off you go. So there you go. Anyway, it must be time for a Right Stuff quiz.
Push the music.
I'll play the music this time, then, shall I add?
Yes. Dramatic. I don't know. You give him one job to do, and the king of fiddling forgets to fiddle and play the video. God dear. Anyway, joining us tonight is Matt Coles. Matt is formerly a 747 pilot with British Airways and is now in a post-COVID world, starting his own tailwheel and farm strip flying operation in Worcester. Welcome along, Matt.
Good evening, Ed. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, as is tradition, before I pass you on for your interview with Johnny, I'm going to give you the Flyer Right Stuff quiz. Now, don't worry, these aren't too strenuous questions, but there's 10 quick-fire ones. So, are you ready? Okay, here we go. Airbus or Boeing?
Boeing.
Cap 10 or RV4?
RV4.
Glass cockpit or steam gauges?
Steam every day.
Field or sky?
Sky.
John Deere or Massey Ferguson?
Gotta be Ferguson.
JFK or MIA?
I think I'd go with Miami.
North up or track up?
Definitely track up.
Grass or hard?
Grass.
Through or round controlled airspace?
I've actually had some pretty good experiences routed through controlled airspace recently, so I'll go with through controlled airspace.
Excellent. And paper chart or tablet?
A tablet.
There we go. Ian. Excellent. How did Matt do?
Matt did all right. I'll come to Matt in a minute, but I just need to give you your Right Stuff quiz answers at the moment before we move on. You know that fiddling quip about running the Right Stuff video? Wasn't that the one we briefed that you would do?
Oh, probably. Yeah. No. It's fine if I can just blame you.
Okay, fair enough. So, Matt, well done. I think the only debatable thing is glass cockpit or steam. I can see the allure of steam in an L4, fair enough, but not always. I mean, can you imagine like flying through the night in some ridiculously horrible weather and all that bloody raw data approach stuff? Wouldn't you much rather have a nice screen with a magenta line? Child of the magenta who's been brought up properly, is what I say. So,
actually, I was probably one of the last people to learn on the old steam dial, so I've got a bit of a fondness for the for the gyros.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you an 85% on that. I'm very, very happy that you got the track up bit absolutely spot on. So there's a lot of people who fall at that hurdle. So, but well done, 85% on that one, and that's only because I'm kind of debating the glass or steam bit.
Okay.
But there you go. Right. So let's bring in Johnny. All right. I'll bring in Johnny.
I think we were having a finger fight again there, Ian.
That's why I was going with the bring in Johnny. Anyway, I'm going to go because I'm clearly rubbish at this. So I'll see you in a bit.
Right, thank you, Matt. So let's just kick off with let's just chat about how you got into flying. Really, tell us about that.
I was quite fortunate from a very young age. My uncle flies. He flies warbirds, actually. So I was spoilt with my introduction into aviation. I wouldn't say I was pushed, but I was certainly guided along the aviation route. Had some great experiences as a kid, and I just caught the bug at a very young age, and so always sort of lived and breathed aviation.
Yeah. So obviously you went down the ATPL route, but tell us briefly how you structured it. Were you modular? Did you go through an integrated route?
So I did quite a bit of flying before I went to a flight school to do the integrated route. But I didn't get any licenses. Did a lot of flying with the Air Cadets, some gliding as well. But because I knew it was always what I wanted to do, go into the airlines, I sort of didn't really go down the license route, went straight to flight school.
Great. Now, tell us about the 747. You spent, you can tell us how many years you spent on it, but as an iconic jet that's now not in the UK skies, how was it to fly?
Do you know, I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to fly it. I only spent 3 years on it, but I'm very fortunate to be able to say that I got to fly it. It handles really quite nicely. Lots of technology on the 400 variant that meant that it was quite easy to fly, actually. And yeah, like I say, just so glad that I got the opportunity to fly it.
Yeah, and did you sort of GA flying help out in any way in terms of operating the 747?
So a little bit of background. I was short haul for about 8 years before I went on to the 747. And long haul flying is very, very different to short haul flying. I would say my GA flying helped a lot more with the short haul. It's a lot more hands-on flying, lots of busy sectors, whereas long haul tends to be more of a management exercise, and also in terms of like managing your fatigue levels. And so the majority of the approaches that we do long haul, certainly in the company that I worked for, were as sort of automated as possible, purely to preserve the amount of energy, if you like, that we could spend to actually monitor the operation. We did get to hand fly it. In fact, we were the last fleet in the company that got to disconnect both the autopilot and the autothrottle for landing. We were sort of encouraged to fly it to regain or maintain our flying skills as much as possible, whilst at the same time, there's sort of like I say, managing your fatigue is quite a big part of long haul flying. So it's really just a balance between the two.
Yeah, great. And if you want, I'll give you some few seconds to reposition yourself so you're not getting blinded while I ask this question. But going back over 12 months now, what was it like being, you're flying a big, heavy, thirsty jet and the world's grinding to a halt? How did that feel?
I mean, I'm obviously not the only one who has been unfortunately affected by this pandemic. And in fact, there's quite a lot of people that have been worse off affected than I have. But it's just very strange, to lose the job that's also a passion. Basically, it's the only job I've ever known. and to go from flying, whether that was every day when I was short haul or sort of 4 or 5 times a month long haul, it's a big shock to the system, and I do really miss it.
Yeah, now lots of people have, they've gone into all sorts of jobs, from driving trains to delivery drivers and that kind of thing. Did you identify early on, did you think, right, there's an opportunity here for me to get back into GA, or how did that come about?
Yeah, 100%. I'm probably one of those sad people who just live and breathe flying. And there was no question for me, really, whether it was earning minimum wage driving a delivery van or minimum wage flying an aeroplane. I could tell you in a heartbeat which I'd rather do. So yeah, I just wanted to stay around flying. There's going to be, I believe, quite a big problem with skill fade when people go back to these jobs in airliners having not flown for a while. And I wanted to sort of do everything that I could in my power to maintain at least some element of aviation in my life.
Yeah. And part of that, I guess, was getting your instructor's rating.
Yeah.
And now, was that difficult?
Yeah, actually, it really was. So I've always, I was in the training world in the airlines, and so I've always enjoyed imparting knowledge onto students, and so it was never really a question of learning how to teach people. But there was a huge there's a huge gap between when I learned to fly and when I got the instructor's rating. And of course, you have to be on top of your game teaching people how to fly. So for me, I had to go back into the books. Airline flying and GA flying is very different, as the instructors who were teaching me, the flight instructors rating, were very keen to tell me. So yeah, it was an uphill battle, but all good fun.
Yeah, just a comment that's been flashed up from Stuart Rue. He says, Matt Cole's my favourite co-pilot on the 747.
That's my favourite skipper on the 747.
Brilliant. So tell us a bit more about the instructor's rating. Where did you do it? What aircraft types?
So I did it down at Kemble on the Piper PA-28, which is a great aeroplane to learn to fly on. Since completing the rating, I've been fortunate enough to instruct on quite a few different types, and I would say that the PA-28 is a great platform, very stable aeroplane. It's very easy to teach people on because it just does exactly what you're wanting to demonstrate.
And at any point during this instructor course, was there a moment where you went, "Oh no, I've made a bad decision," or was it always a kind of this is the right direction, this is going well?
I mean, I'm sure there were probably evenings where I was knee deep in the textbooks where I thought, I wish I'd never done this. But no, I'm 100% glad that I went down that route.
Yeah, and just talk us about the operation that you're starting up now. I mean, you're focusing on tailwheel and farm strip flying. Are those two key passions of yours?
Yeah, that's it. So I quite often fly with people who, when they get their pilot's license, they kind of say, what next? And there's only a certain amount of PA-28 hours that you can do for expensive breakfasts, and I've always had a passion for vintage aeroplanes, which obviously there's quite a few tail dragger type vintage aircraft, and being brought up in the countryside surrounded by lots of little farm strips, I was very fortunate enough to be able to sort of fly into these places, and I found that there were challenging environments that allowed me to sort of keep on top of my stick and rudder flying skills, which obviously you need as a tail dragger pilot. So yeah, sorry, I forget the question exactly, Johnny.
No, I've got just thought of another one now, but in the instructing you've done so far, have you found that people are a bit wary of farm strip flying, or is it something they're quite keen to do?
I think it's it's one of the things that I really try and get people to understand, is that they're very different environments to what they're used to, particularly when they've learned to fly at controlled airfields. There's a lot of different challenges involved. It requires a different skill set. and just a lot of mental preparation. So it's a great way to develop new skills after they've learned to fly. I wouldn't say people are nervous about it per se. I just think that flying the PA-28, for example, after flight school, it's a comfort zone, and I do find that people tend to stay within their comfort zone. It's funny, I got asked the question about through controlled airspace or round controlled airspace earlier. I flew with a chap the other day who we were going somewhere, and he said, "Oh, I don't want to talk to anyone. I wanted to go all round controlled airspace," and I don't understand that. Probably from a commercial background, it's just straight line type thing. But I've never been one to stay in the comfort zone, really. I always kind of wanted to do something different and to challenge myself. And I would definitely suggest that anyone who was interested in learning some new skills after they've got their rating, maybe they've had their rating for ages and they just they've never really thought about doing something, then definitely consider maybe doing a tailwheel rating or visiting a farm strip, even in a current aircraft that they fly, as long as it was a suitable aircraft for the strip.
Yeah, absolutely. Now tell us a bit about the airplane that you're getting hold of soon.
So I've got it now. It's a fantastic little World War II warbird. It's officially a warbird. It did serve in the war with the French army. It's a Piper Cub, which was given the military designation L4, or a grasshopper. They were used as spotters in the war. In fact, they were supposed to be the most feared aircraft in the war, because they'd quite often go and find the enemy, and then 5 minutes later the rest of the cavalry would arrive. So it's a fantastic aeroplane, very docile, lovely, perfect tailwheel trainer. It's obviously very slow, being quite a low horsepower engine, but it's just I can't explain. With the door open on a summer's evening, it's just the most romantic, fantastic way to fly.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you go back. Did you say your uncle flew warbirds?
Yeah, so my uncle, he flies T6 Texans or Harvards, and also Mustangs as well. So that's his sort of passion.
Right. So I can see a kind of a narrative building here. Are you kind of getting all this tailwheel time in the hope that one day you can make a jump to warbirds, or even bigger warbirds, now that you own your own?
You know what? I'm just happy to fly. If ever I get the opportunity one day to fly something heavy, then I would absolutely love to do that. The restriction, if you like, which I'm sure many people find with aviation, is just the cost. An hour in a heavy warbird is hundreds of pounds. And yes, if someone gave me the opportunity to fly one, I would absolutely love to. But at the moment, especially as I'm not working, it's going to have to wait, I think.
Yeah. Now, just going back to the comments, I've seen one from Lyndon. Where is it? Here we go. Can you recommend any good challenging strips near Worcester or Worcestershire area, just in case he hasn't found them yet?
Yeah, there's quite a few actually. In fact, we're very lucky in Worcestershire to have lots of nice farm strips. One thing I would say before I give you some recommendations is, anywhere that you go, please make sure that you've got the landowner's permission. PPR is essential with these places, because there could be sheep grazing the runway, any number of obstacles around that might make it inappropriate to go into these farm strips. So just make sure you get the permission to go in first. There's a great strip just outside Cleobury Mortimer called Milson. If you fancy landing on the side on a bit of a slope there, that's a one way in, one way out strip. Croft Farm, not so challenging. It's a nice place to start, just under 600 meters, fairly flat. It's got a bit of an offset approach to the westerly runway. That's a great place. But yeah, there's lots. There's I'm sure you can find on various publications that you can get hold of lots of farm strips. Get some information from Lockyer's. Have got a farm strip flying guide that I'm not sure they still make anymore, but you can probably.
Yeah, I've got an old version up there somewhere. These days, I just tend to scroll around on Google Earth looking for things that aren't on Skydreaming, which is always good fun.
Yeah. But I mean, the aviation community, if we're going to start flying into these kind of places more, we've got to develop decent relationships with the farmers and the landowners, because noise is quite a sensitive issue for quite a lot of these places. So just make sure that we're being responsible aviators, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. Now we'll finish up, but just tell us a bit about the company name. Where can we find out more about you on your website?
Kind of you, thank you. It's called Farm Strip Flying. We've got a website, farmstripflying.co.uk. We're on Instagram as well, if you fancy scrolling through there to see us. But yeah, it's a very simple operation. We're just operating this Viper Cub and trying to get people through tail wheel conversions, and just to introduce them to the challenges of farm strip flying.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, Matt, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see some more pictures and get you on again soon, and maybe meet you in the summer somewhere at a farm strip. And I think now it's time for Fantasy Hangar.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, we were talking about farm stripping, weren't we? Just can't hear you, Ed.
Oh, Ed, you've muted yourself.
There we go. There's a lot to love about farm strip flying, so having another instructor teaching those ways is an excellent thing.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this before the live stream started. We one of these summer evenings, we've got to get us. I think we're going to have a flyer team fly out to a couple of strips.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, I think that's.
Do that. See if we can live stream the live stream from flying around.
You could do an impromptu strip stream.
That's we may have created something that we don't want to create.
Yeah, I think you're right there. No, don't worry, we won't be doing that. Good.
Yes.
So, Fantasy Hangar, Ed.
So anyway, Fantasy Hangar. So this week, then, for no other reason, we thought it would be fun. We challenged ourselves to find a piston engine aeroplane that delivered the lowest knots per pound cost. So this was trawling the classifieds, the likes of A4s and Trader Plane and Barnstormers, and basically it's all about coming up with most knots for lowest pounds. So who's first?
That's me this week.
Ian, what have you got?
I went for a Balanka Viking. There's not that many of them around, kind of wooden aeroplanes, but they're bloody fast. I mean, you cruise at 160, 163 knots. This one's for sale in the US and basically works out at £236 per knot at today's exchange rate. This one looks in kind of okay condition. One of those things that you could probably spend a chunk of money on if you wanted. It's got the most... what am I trying to say? It's got the most interesting orange and bright orange leather interior that should belong in Scooby-Doo's van. But I reckon the Balanka Viking's a bit of a classic, decent performance.
That's quite good. And you get 4 seats.
4 seats.
It's a shame you don't get an increased score for having number of seats for your... What was your cost?
My cost was £236 per knot, which it's quite a lot. But I think one of the things we've discovered is that perhaps the pounds per knot was a slightly unsophisticated measure.
We'll try better next time. Nick Allen says of your Balanka Viking, wooden looks like MDF wardrobe with wings.
There's nothing wrong with an MDF wardrobe with wings. Yeah, that's a bit harsh. What's your suggestion then, Nick? What are you gonna come up with? I reckon the Balanka Viking was inspired.
African Eagle says Balanka is a wonderful aeroplane.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Okay.
Much.
So who's next?
It's
Dave.
Oh, it's me.
Dave. What have you gone for?
Well, I kind of misunderstood the brief. That's my excuse.
Oh dear.
And so my price per knot is not particularly good. However, it's a beautiful aeroplane. I was browsing through the ads, and I found this fabulous, there's only one word for it, fabulous Burkett 540, which is on sale with Latitude Aviation at Santa Monica Airport in Southern California. Built in 2015 with the help of the factory, they're also based at Santa Monica Airport, and it's just extraordinary. Every little detail is perfect. It's probably rivals the one we've got in the UK, Glen Waters Burkett. That's a 360. This has got a 540 engine in the back, so this is even faster. Its cruise speed is 215 knots, and it only using 8.5 US gallons per hour at that speed. But it has been up. But it has been up to 250 knots apparently.
Yeah. Crucially, what's your cost per knot, Dave?
Well, yeah, that's not money. Isn't the only thing you should think about with aeroplanes, is it? I mean,
in this particular instance,
I'm
afraid it is
£1,390 per knot.
Okay, so it's not lower than Ian's. So so at the moment you're last.
No,
but I will give you that is a very sexy looking aeroplane.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry to say this, but I don't know why. I really want to love Canard, but I can't for some reason. I mean, the Piaggio Avanti is kind of okay and beautiful-ish, but the rest of the Canards I'm really struggling with. And I'd also like to know how you get 8 US gallons an hour consumption out of an IO 540.
In a glide, maybe.
Yeah,
I'd like to throw in. I'd like to throw in at this point. Adrian Norris says, counting on Johnny and Ed to come up with something desirable. Adrian, we may disappoint this month.
Yeah, yeah. Adrian, I think I've won. Who's next? Johnny.
Who's next?
It's me. Right. So I've on a similar line to Dave. I've gone with the Longies, based on. But look at that. Based on the fact that I found it in the classifieds earlier. It's a slippery, quick airplane. I think the flat out you'll do 160 knots. I was surprised at the range of them, and apparently a standard one can go 2,000 nautical miles, which surprised me no end. And some of them have been able to go up to 4,500 nautical miles. But anyway, go on, Ed.
I'm not sure of that 4,000. Maybe if you have drop tanks.
This was with additional tanks and a tank in the boot in the second seaters. But anyway, it's not about range. It's about knots, isn't it? So mine came out at a total of £106 per knot, which is less.
Oh wow! Well, that makes you the winner, Johnny.
Yeah, that's less than a tenth of Dave.
Yeah, it's like much cheaper than Dave's and nearly as good looking. However, I've tossed aside the good looking thing and I've tossed aside the speed thing. But I think I may have a winner here. So prepare yourselves. So I've gone for this. I found this in the classifieds. It's an MW5. It's a single seat microlight, and it's now moved to the SSDR category. I look at this. This looks blisteringly fast on the ground. Probably not very fast in the air. It's got a 40 horsepower Rotax 447. So this little beauty, you can buy this. The advert said offers around £3,000, and I checked. The MW5 cruises at 55 knots. So that gives me a cost of £55 per knot. So I win. I feel this may be a light victory this time because I win on the basics of coming in on the requirements of the competition. I'm not sure many people will ask. We'll go. I'll take Ed's choice.
I'd be surprised if there were many who would take your choice on that, Ed. I think
I can always rely on Paul Cadell.
Paul Cadell.
And Henry Yandel. Thank you very much, both.
Henry, Paul, what are you like?
Your check is in the post to both of you. We were discussing this earlier. A two-stroke is not necessarily the most relaxing thing to fly behind, but you've got to say £3,000 for an aeroplane. You know, what a fantastic, what a lot of aviation and for very, very little money. So I think that would be fun to buy that and find the best electric motor battery package you can put on it. And because it's SSDR, you can. But that could be a lot of fun.
I've got a couple of suggestions here that Adrian Norris came up with before he kind of, in the same way that Ed, you ignored aesthetics and the need for speed completely. Adrian ignored the thing that he may not have been briefed on, that we were really looking for pistons. So he found, I can't really show you, unfortunately, but he found a fallen gnat for sale in Trader Plane, which I think is up for sale for $250,000 or something like that. So that's probably $255,000. So I don't know how many knots you get out of a fallen gnat. It must be 300 or something, 350.
450.
Yeah, so that's probably going to, in the jet world, that wouldn't be too bad with it. And then if you got more money than the 255,000 you need for the following that, you can get a MiG-29 for $2.5 million.
I'm guessing that's quite fast.
I'm guessing that's quite fast. Yeah,
but critically, not a single engine piston.
But not a single engine piston, and you probably, in terms of the fuel that you'd burn taking a MiG-29 going quite fast, you could probably never spend that much money on your MW5 in its entire life of one lot of fuel, could you? So, what have we got in the comments apart from?
Well, I'm beginning to feel like I may have sneaked a win here. So, Jane Gifford says, I like Ed's choice. Kia Williams says, I don't see you swapping the R. No, you're probably right, Kia. Though it's one of those things. If I had a big hangar space, that's £3,000. You'd buy that and just give it hangar space because that's a brilliant thing. Catkin says, Ed wins. Adrian Norris says, £55 per knot. I'd rather walk. That's a bit harsh. Vince Chadwick said, Ed goes backwards in a headwind.
Yeah. So. Talking on a serious note, talking of fantastic airplanes to buy that I would love to buy if I had a hangar big enough to put it in. There's currently on A4s, there's an Aeronca C3, two-seat Aeronca C3 for sale for something like 26,500. It looks absolutely beautiful and immaculate. They pointed out it's got huge wings, like 32-foot wings or something. So you do need somewhere decent to put it. But if you've got somewhere decent to put it and 26-ish thousand pounds to spend, then that you do a lot worse than having one of those. I mean, it's never ever going to be a practical airplane to do anything in other than just float around of an evening.
That would be an absolutely magic machine for the zero wind night, where you just roll it out and you just revel in committing aviation.
Yeah, absolutely. So please go and buy that and let us have a go. It would be my
very good.
So what have we got? Where are we going now then? After fancy,
it must be events.
It must be events. Yeah. Dave,
yes. Events, yeah. So because this weekend is not a very busy weekend for events, but there is the commemorative flying at eShot. There's a little bit about it here. It's on Saturday and Sunday. Apparently 100 aircraft are PPR'd so far. There's going to be all-day barbecue, pizza van in the evening. Landing fees are a donation to the SSAFA. What the hell is that? To support military vets. Military vets. Okay, why not fly over to Bamberg Castle, where the latest Indiana Jones film is being filmed? Avgas and Jet One will be available.
Yes.
I can imagine.
Yes. And more importantly than that, if you fly into eShot, then you get to meet the legend that is Paul Cadell, writer of brilliant flying adventures.
He's
there. I've seen him preparing the hangar. There's, there will be an autograph corner, I understand.
I thought Paul Cadell was a legend and a creator of brilliant flying adventures, and then he suggested that your MW5 was the winner. I mean, I'm afraid, Paul.
Okay, back to events. Next weekend is a very busy one. It's Midsummer, Longest Day, Solstice, Wicker Man burning, heathen rites, whatever. Over in Suffolk, there's Hinderclay Meadows, Midsummer Flying. Easter Airfield of Scotland has got their Solstice event. Over in Ireland, there's the ILAS, the Irish version of the LAA. They've got their big event at a place called Tarmon in Ireland. At Vintage Aircraft Club Flying at Western, Micronite event at St Michael's near Preston, and there's Pistons and Props at Slape. Looking ahead to a couple of events, Lundy Sunday on the 1st of August, and Cardiff Airport are having a fly-in on the 7th and 8th of August.
Wow.
There might be a chance of sun then.
Yeah. I think there's also quite an important flyer club fly-in, isn't there, as well?
Well, I was going to leave that to Johnny.
I'll just flash this up. The SSAFA, Soldiers, Sailors and Air Forces and Families Association.
Thank you.
There you go. Johnny.
Brilliant. Yeah, so lots going on at the moment, starting with the fly-in on the 3rd of July. We're going to be taking over a ground floor room. There'll be refreshments inside provided by the Airfield Cafe. And there'll also be access to the museum, and you'll be able to see Slape's warbird collection on display. And for those arriving or staying over lunchtime, the cafe, if the weather's good, the cafe will also have their barbecue on, so you can grab some good old lunch there. You can also actually PPR through the news story on our website, so head up there and you can fill in the details. I will also send that out as an email tomorrow to everybody. Some people, eagle-eyed people, have already found it and filled it in, which is good, but that will be coming out tomorrow. And James Ketchell, who you all enjoyed listening to probably a month ago now, he will be back on Monday the 28th for a Flyer Club exclusive chat. He'll be telling everybody about his trip around the world in a microlight. The exact time is TBC, but it's probably going to be 6-7 p.m. in the evening, and we'll send a link out closer to the time. But we're excited to have him back. He's a great talker. We can find out all about his trips over Russia and flying across the Atlantic at 5 feet, listening to podcasts, which sounded like great fun. And we're almost at the point of confirming a really great deal on an upset prevention and recovery training day with Ultimate High at Goodwood. So we'll get more on that to you next week. And as ever, if you're not a member and you want all these great benefits, just head to the website flyer.co.uk and click the club button at the top, and you can join from just £7.50 per quarter for now.
That's 2 weeks running. You've got that right.
Yeah. What next? And of course, we'll be at the Flyer Club fly-in at Sleep, hopefully with a whole bunch of goodies that we can find somewhere. Some lanyards, some oil filters. We might even buy you tea and coffee, or somebody else will be buying you tea and coffee. But there you go.
Working on it.
We're working on it. Yeah, absolutely. So QSY, I think we're at the QSY time of the show. Unless anyone's got anything else.
No.
What have we got?
We have got I think the kind of opinions on this were a little bit split in the office, weren't they? I'm going to play you a little video, lasts about a minute, and it's called the Copter Pack. Take a look at this.
Call me crazy, but that looks brilliant.
It looks brilliant.
Yeah, I agree with Ed. I'd fly it over water along the, a nice summer evening along the coastline, out into where it's deep enough that if you go in, that you won't hit the bottom.
When
I don't know why it's possible with the motorcycle gear, because if you fall out of the sky in that, you're just gonna be broken at the end of it.
It
looks good though. Maybe the MW5 thing's gone to my head.
It does look good, but if you look at the guy, I've watched this video a couple of times now. I reckon he was rejected from being a jockey because he was too thin. So you probably need to weigh about 45 kilos or less to be able to fly that. Which it's not about you, but that kind of excludes me. But anyway,
as Dave White said, practice single engine failure.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of asymmetric, maybe.
Yeah,
one of those balloons. Right, what else have we got? We have got Dave. I think you spotted this one, didn't you? Some political opponent of Putin's or something, isn't it?
This is some Russian stunt guy. They persuaded this chap to be duct taped underneath the helicopter while they flew a circuit around the airfield. It isn't the KGB with Alexei Navalny. It is a real thing. Anyway, it's hit the headlines all over Russia. Everybody's been arrested, and presumably at the moment they are being duct taped to something or other.
A gulag.
A gulag, yes.
So let me get this right. So they got someone and put them on the bottom of the helicopter and went round and round and round with duct tape and then flew the helicopter.
Exactly, yes.
Brilliant. Did no one go, this is like having 3 people in the front seat? Surely you do a weight and balance. I don't know, but thinking about it, I'm not sure. I think a weight and balance was probably the last thing on their mind.
I think it was probably the last thing. And this poor chap underneath he appears to be grinning throughout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all think the Russians are crazy and do crazy things, don't they? But I don't know how many of you are. Oh, look at that Whiskey Alpha. Hey, well, look at this. What have we got? Russians?
I posed the.
Yesterday, we pasted a pair of overalls to this panel using Solvite all-purpose wallpaper adhesive. Today, a 12-stone man is wearing them. And when we consider that the only thing keeping him in the air is the sticking power of Solvite, you can be sure that it will hang all wallpapers, washables, and vinyls. No trouble at all. Solvite all-purpose wallpaper adhesive. It's the only one you need.
When I suggested that, it was completely lost on Johnny earlier because Johnny is not a child of the 80s TV commercial.
No, I don't know what wallpaper paste is.
He's like, what is this stuff?
That was a little bit mad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we were wondering whether it was actually real or not, but it was on TV and it was in the 80s or even the 70s, so it must have been real.
Yeah, so they definitely did it.
Nothing was fake then. No one had even heard of fake news. So talking of other things, I was wondering if we should maybe even launch a competition on this line. I don't know if you saw up in. I know, yeah, it's just one of those random. Let's make it up as we go along things. Yeah. Here's a flight plan on SkyD, man. You've been up flying Saltires in Scotland, and here's the actual route flown.
Yes.
Very good.
I know who was behind this.
Yeah. Are we going to mention who's behind it?
I don't know. I might protect his identity. As he's known to the Flyer the Flyer live stream audience. He has appeared on this show in the past.
Is it Nicola Sturgeon?
Sorry, is it Nicola Sturgeon? No, it's not Nicola Sturgeon.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we've got from the QSY. And I think, spookily enough, we're only 2 minutes late, which is pretty good. So that just leaves me, unless anyone's got anything else, to thank 4Flight for sponsoring this and to remind people to go and check out the 4Flight Century at www.flywithcentury.com/flyer. And leaves us to ponder whether we should have a competition for the most imaginative, family-friendly flight track that you can create.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can come up with that competition by next week.
Let's see if we can work out some details and get that by next week. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Ed, Dave, Johnny, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And I believe that is the end.
Yeah. Cheers. Have a great weekend, everyone. Fly safe.
Fly
Enjoy.
safe. Cheers.